we're going to sort of chat to Ophelia about some of the things that she's working on at the moment. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay?
How are you?
You lost your phone.
I know.
What the hell?
I don't know how to live anymore.
Today?
It's only been 2 hours and I'm already feeling...
Well, how are the withdrawal symptoms going?
They're pretty bad.
Yeah?
Pretty bad.
Where did you look? So can somebody find Ophelia's phone?
Please.
Should we start a hashtag?
Find my phone.
Find Ophelia's phone. Ophelia's lost phone. What do we think is good? Which hashtag should we go for?
Let's go with Find Ophelia's phone.
Find Ophelia's
Please.
phone, ladies and gentlemen. Please tweet it now. It was lost. Where was it lost?
London Fields.
London Fields. If you are in the vicinity, or were in the vicinity
Please
of London Fields 2 hours ago, perhaps you might even have stolen it yourself, knowing the information contained on that phone, you might, that would be fabulous. You can hand it in. I'll tell you what, we should give a reward. What reward should we give for Find Ophelia's phone? What do you think?
If you're a startup founder, I will listen to your pitch for you.
I thought, wait a second. Aren't you supposed to do that for free?
Yeah, I'll be extra nice when you come in and pitch.
How about, well, yeah, but isn't the job of, isn't your role to go to people like Saul Klein or Robin Klein, who the founders of LocalGlobe, and go, this is a great startup, yeah?
I reserve judgment before I go and tell them it's great, though.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, you just oh, is that how it works? Oh, this is interesting.
No, you can also go in and be like, I met with a bad startup.
What's it like? What is it like? So, okay, right. Hold on. Let's go. This is
take
good.
a step back.
Let's go. Let's take a step back. You go into a room with Robin Klein and Saul Klein, two of the most powerful investors in Europe, nay, the world, and you reserve judgment on a company that you're pitching to them. Is that right?
Of course.
Why?
Because I'm hoping that they're going to have trusted that I've taken judgment and respect my judgment, and then we'll debate. You know, you lay the...
What is this, the Oxford Union?
Come to our deal flow meetings. You know, everyone's more than welcome. No,
all of us? How many people? Quite a lot.
Ours might not fit everyone, actually, but...
So, yeah, that's interesting. So, because I think we should return to this subject, but I mean, what is, you know, let's be honest, it's 2016. We've had, let's see, almost 10 years, let's call 2006 kind of like starter year. 10, 11 years. TechCrunch was founded July 2005. I started writing for it in 2000 and... Oh, who knows the answer to that question? Nobody knows. I was freelancing, actually, in 2006. So we've had like 10 years of this enormous amount of growth. I think we could sort of bookend things between sort of the coalition government and Brexit, couldn't we? There's silence in the room.
No one's really agreeing.
Everyone's going like, oh, God, no, he said the word. Terrible.
Why are you bookending it? We're only on a continuation of the growth here.
Well, don't you think, I mean, hold on a second. Don't you think, okay, spoken like a true VC, by the way, we're on the continuation of the growth, everything's fine.
Of course, we're keeping the lights on.
The lights are definitely on, this is true. But I think we could bookend that era of enormous growth. I mean, you, as an observer, I mean, I was looking at your CV, and you've been an advisor on a number of companies, quite a lot of in medicine, I noticed. So you've seen a few companies come and go. What's been your impression over the last few years about the quality of technology entrepreneurs, how it's changed over the last few years?
You have to say it's dramatically improving. I think that you're right that, you know, if you look back to 2007, where London was then, and the number of entrepreneurs were probably in the hundreds rather than the thousands, and now we're probably in the tens of thousands. And the quality is improving in both ways. I think that, you know, people are coming out of universities, and instead of looking to Goldman Sachs or McKinsey, they're now thinking, oh, I can start this, you know, I can actually do something. It's pretty easy to get going. And you're also seeing that second wave where people who have been in high growth tech companies, who have been in Zoopla or Graze or TransferWise, and they're thinking, I know how to do this myself. So you're seeing kind of the experienced entrepreneurs or even people who have been VP level, head of products, etc., that are now starting their own thing, and people coming straight out of university. So there's just a wide spectrum of talent.
That's a good question. Do you actually encounter those people? For instance, do you find an entrepreneur who comes in and says, I was at Zoopla, or I was at Moo, or I was at, a successful technology company out of the UK or even out of Europe?
All the time.
Now I've got my own idea. Does that happen a lot?
Totally, yeah. I mean, just met a few weeks ago, Dimitar, who founded the Stack Overflow office in Europe, he's now started his own business, like one of a handful of many.
So it's really that has really upticked over the last couple of years.
I think dramatically so in the last, probably 18 months. And I think that's what's particularly exciting about Europe at the moment, especially in the UK, who have had, over a third of Europeans, billion-dollar companies, that we are now seeing, this kind of ecosystem taking the next step. And it's not only in founders, it's also angels, Alex Chesterman or Ed Ray or William Reeve, who are now angel investors and providing their own expertise and experience.
William Reeve, he founded Graze, or no, he was in, what was he in again?
He was in
Select,
Graze.
Film Select, no.
Film Select?
No,
Love Film?
Love Film. He was in Love Film, wasn't he?
And now at Hubbub.
And yes, that's right. So in a sense, the ecosystem that built Silicon Valley, where you had initial entrepreneurs and then they went on and became investors, you think that's spinning up now?
I totally think that's spinning up.
Well, you're a VC.
I think so.
Yes. Last I checked.
It says on my CV.
That's right. What do you think of the criticism that many entrepreneurs have of the European investor scene, in the sense that many investors are criticized for not having been entrepreneurs themselves? It's almost a rite of passage for many investors in the Valley and elsewhere to have actually been an operator. The VCs call them, he was an operator. That means he was an entrepreneur, or she was an entrepreneur. Whereas a lot of VCs in Europe, especially in London as well, haven't been operators, haven't been entrepreneurs, haven't been blooded in that sense, an old fox hunting term, in that way. Do you think that puts the investors at a disadvantage, or do you think that gives them more of a kind of an overview, an independent overview?
So I think this will continue to be an ongoing debate amongst VCs.
It'll always be a debate.
It will always be a debate, because there are those who are operators who obviously value operating experience, and those who are investors like myself who have no operating experience but still like to think I might be a good investor. But I think that there are different skill sets that come from both and different experiences that come to both that are valuable for entrepreneurs. So I think that the best partnerships, the best VC partnerships will try and have a mix of both, because then you're kind of getting the all-rounder. But for VCs, an element of it is, a large component of it is pattern recognition. So if you meet with hundreds and hundreds of startups and you invest in tens and you see what makes an exceptional company, then you start to know what you're looking for, and it becomes about benchmarks. And I fundamentally believe in the Moneyball of VC. I do think there's a level there of just kind of analytics that you can use to either find companies or help companies. I mean, even if you look at Social and Capital's 8-Ball and what they're doing in terms of sourcing companies. But if you've been in a high growth startup and you've founded, they're not running VC funds, but if you founded Facebook, of course you're going to have great operational experience that any founder would want to talk to you about building their business, because you've seen it all and you've done it all. So again, I think the best VC partnerships will have a mix of both.
Have you ever personally been charged with that criticism by an entrepreneur that you haven't operated?
Thankfully, no. No one's walked into a room and been like, I'm not going to take your money because you haven't operated. But it is a topic that comes up, you know. And I think, you know, you have to be honest. You can't pretend to be something you're not.
Do you feel like you're kind of like the general in the battlefield where you can see the whole battlefield instead of being in one section, as it were?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you meet with 50 companies a week, you know, seed stage companies, you can start to have a strong, good idea of, you know, what makes a good founder, what is a good product, what does traction look like, and you kind of do this again and again and again. And as I said, it's, you know, an element of pattern recognition. And then once you've invested, you know, as companies are growing from 0 to 50 employees or on that journey, then they experience a lot of the same problems. Like, who are the hires that we need to make to execute on this product roadmap? Or, you know, how do we hire for this role? Or how do we think about marketing? It's the same kind of questions that come up time and again. So,
what sort of things do you think Europe is particularly good at? Certain things as opposed to some things as opposed to others. I mean, we're all familiar with the big consumer businesses that kind of come out of the States and global platforms. What do you think Europe is good at?
Financial services, for sure. I think that, you know, London. And I know we're going to talk about Brexit because you can't have a panel these days without talking about Brexit. But London still remains, you know, the financial technology centre of the world. And we've seen great businesses being built and continue to be built in Europe. So if you take, I don't know, Adyen, for example, which is a payment processor who are processing for the likes of Uber and Google, and there's no competitor in the US to them.
No competitor to Adyen?
I mean, yes, there's the comparative of Stripe, but if you get into the nitty-gritty of what they actually do...
Which do you think is better?
Adyen.
Are you invested in Adyen?
No.
Why not?
Why not? Index was. So where I used to work, they were invested.
You were at Index?
Yeah.
Do you think another Adyen could emerge, or do you think that game is over?
Totally. I mean, if you look back, 2007...
You think it could?
I think it could emerge. Even if you know... 2007 was when Adyen started. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a founder now in his bedroom thinking, I can build a better version of this.
Why is that? Why do you think that game is still going?
Because
surely payments is over.
We still have to exchange cash.
Ophelia, come on. Surely it's over.
Well, we're just going to give everything for free and we're going to live in this society where...
Blockchain will take care of it, everything. We'll all live in a hippie society ruled by cryptocurrency, will we not?
Who's going to build the blockchain for transactions that we're all going to be happy with? I mean, we're only on 1.0 today, or 2.0. I forget which version we're now on, but I don't think it's over.
You don't think it's over?
I don't think it's over.
Where are we then? Where are we in the cycle? Or not, forget the cycle. Where are we? Do you think we're sort of, kind of, in evolutionary terms, do you think technology is kind of... at sort of Homo sapiens stage, or Cro-Magnon, man, Neanderthal, or are we still crawling out of the ocean? What's going on?
I still think we're at the very early stages in a lot of industries. Like, if you take, you know, the market cap of the top 30 fintech companies, it's like 4 trillion. If you take the total market value of the biggest 30 startups in fintech, it's like 30 billion. Like, we're way off what we call proper disruption. Yeah.
30 billion versus
4 trillion.
4 trillion. So you think, so the startups still have plenty of disruption to go?
Plenty of disruption to go.
Especially in fintech, as you said.
Especially in fintech.
Surely if you were an investor, you would just double down on fintech, you'd forget the rest, would you not?
No, I think, well, you know, there are funds that do that. There's Ribbit Capital over in the US, or only a fintech-focused fund. There's Nigel Morris's QED. They're enterprise. I don't think they'd call themselves only fintech. But there are investors that do take a sector-specific approach, or, you know, a business model approach, because they believe that by doubling down, they become more relevant to their founders. Then they, you know, they write some great content. They can build investment theses. They then attract great founders. So there are some benefits to going that way. The way that we're set up at LocalGlobe is that we actually took a geographic approach. So we said, you know, we want to be dedicated seed, and we want to work very closely with the founders that we're investing in. We know that seed is all about a very kind of intimate 2-year journey until Series A, and there's a lot of kind of dialogue during those 2 years. We'd rather be close to the companies that we're investing in. Very much like what they do in Silicon Valley, is that they won't even look outside kind of however many mile radius. We feel that there's a wealth of opportunity in the UK. But then other funds will, as they grow bigger, will go industry versus geography.
You've gone for seed, but there's been some criticism in the sense that investors have gone either for early stage or for mid to late. But there's this gap in the middle between seed funding and getting to your first Series A and maybe a Series A plus. And that seems to have existed for quite a long time, especially in Europe. I mean, let's be brutally honest here. I mean, seed funds were set up to get in early on the ground floor, were they not, right? I mean, actually, that's why Index kind of cut its mustard to some extent.
Index started in venture. And I guess there's an argument to be said that seed is now what Series A was back in 2007 when people were raising kind of £1 to £2 million at a Series A, and that's now a seed round. Okay,
right, let's do a straw poll. Who thinks £1 to £2 million is a seed round, in your experience? Who thinks it's not? Oh, so lots of disappointed entrepreneurs.
So I'm going to come back at you with some data.
I've always thought that there's this kind of perception gap between entrepreneurs I speak to who go, like, we're trying to raise a seed fund of like 250 to 500 or something, and then when I speak to VCs, they go, oh yeah, seed round's $1 million or something. Don't you think there's a kind of a weird perception gap going on?
There possibly is. We've done the analysis. So, LocalGlobe historically has something like 150 portfolio companies, or has made 150 investments. And of the European ones of kind of over 100, the data clearly shows that an average seed round is about £1.4 million. Back in the days when,
in the UK or Europe or
across Europe,
right?
And that's back in the day when dollar FX was good and it was $2 million, and
that was before the pound was worth less than the Greek drachma, right?
And that's a seed round. But I think people calling things different. You could raise 300,000 and call it a seed. It depends what kind of shareholders agreement and what you're issuing. But a seed round is about £1.5 million, and you should consider it as that point when you're ready to take institutional capital. You probably have a product that addresses a very large market that you're going after, and you have a great team, but you need help to kind of scale that product and improve kind of product market fit. And that's about an 18-month journey until you raise your Series A. So I think the ecosystem here is becoming more delineated, that there's friends and family or pre-seed, and then there's seed, and then there's Series A and beyond.
Okay, just quickly, let's talk briefly about what does LocalGlobe do? Where does it sit in the market? What do you bring to the party that an entrepreneur couldn't get from any other seed fund?
So we are a dedicated seed fund. I worked with Robin and Saul at Index for about 4 years and really saw a gap in the market, in the European market, for what we call dedicated seed, which to us is helping entrepreneurs, as I said, on that journey from when they're ready to take our money to a Series A. And again, going back to the data, if you look at across our portfolio, and I'm sure this bears out if we were to do the run of all other European companies that have raised seed money, that of all seed companies that went on to raise a Series A, 90% of those companies do it within 18 months, and the average is about 15 months. So you really don't have long after raising your seed round to think about when you should next be pitching investors. And so our promise to the founders that we invest in is that we will work with you very closely over that period to help make sure that you can go and raise capital from tier 1 VCs. And knowing how these VCs will pick apart your product and your growth and your distribution and your team, we sit down with you at the point of investment and say, okay, we think these are the milestones that you have to hit according to product, team, growth, unit economics. And if you've only got, 15 months, well, then working back, this is what you have to achieve at, 300 days, 180 days, 90 days. And let's kind of think about all of this stuff right now, because the clock is going to start ticking. And so you can kind of imagine how that kind of interactions build up. So for that reason, 70% of our fund will go to the UK, and then 30% of it will go US, Europe, but we still want to partner with a co-lead who's there on the ground with the entrepreneur.
And I suppose, actually, let's set aside the whole Europe thing for a second. You see so many key people come into the UK, especially into London, from continental Europe or internationally, that to some extent that still ends up being quite international anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole reason that Brexit is so concerning to us is that we do have an inordinate amount of talent here that isn't from London, and I hope that it only stays that way. And you rely on kind of these multicultural teams and being able to scale effortlessly from London into other countries without, it's like people coming here from Europe who suddenly know what London's all about.
Go on then. Let's sort of bite the bullet. What do you think Brexit will do to the UK technology scene?
Ooh, sounds like there's some strong opinions in the audience here.
Any leavers here? We have a firing squad over there in the corner. No, I'm joking. It's totally fine. I'm joking. I'm just joking. It's a joke. It's just a joke. We're all tolerance. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have tolerance. In business terms, what do you think Britain leaving the European Union will do to the technology scene? How do we, will it, not scene, but industry, will we innovate out of it? Will it be sort of a bit of a hit to begin with and will sort of accelerate out? What do you think is going to happen?
I know it sounds kind of the weak answer, but I don't think anyone can really say with any certainty that we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the politicians themselves don't know what's going to happen. They don't even know how to negotiate a trade agreement. Like, we're just so in the middle of it. The last article, you read an article every morning. We're either leaving in 2020 or 2021, and these are the reasons why we're not going to leave, and this is the reason why it's never going to happen. And this is the worst part. It's the uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's the people who are sitting in startups thinking, wait, am I going to be here in 2 years' time? Am I suddenly going to be extradited from the UK because I'm not a UK resident? And the worst part right now, as you say, we can see it in the currency, right? So, people's hosting costs, people's marketing spend are dollar-dominated.
Because maybe they're going Amazon S3 in dollars and
exactly, and their revenues are in pounds. And the worst part is the actual early-stage startups are the ones that are most affected by this, rather than larger companies like Funding Circle who have dollar exposure through revenues and probably hedge their cash, etc. So they're not as affected. That's talent and costs are the most concerning things at the moment.
Talent and costs. Do you think there's is there some sort of upside in the sense that perhaps government policy or something will be motivated to try and innovate our way out of a sticky business at the moment? Rohan Silva, who used to work for David Cameron, said we should bring in artificial intelligence to process visa applications much faster and things like that. It's like running a country with HAL 9000 or something.
I think no matter what you say, the country spoke. And then, these times will call for change. And I think it's a time of reflection to see where the opportunities are and the good opportunities for change. Why the pound is weak. Startups just got a whole lot cheaper to fund if you're outside the UK.
Boom.
And a whole lot cheaper to be acquired if you're thinking about that too. So, there were some definite positives.
Little startup called Arm got acquired for possibly that reason.
Exactly. So I think that this will provoke some good change, and in every crisis is born a good entrepreneur. So, do
you think, as investors, you will deploy more of your capital to continental Europe or to companies inside the official EU?
Our strategy remains zero changed by Brexit. We were very positive in the UK before Brexit, and we remain extremely positive in the UK.
Do you? One last question on Brexit. Do you think that the people, general partners, will will LPs invest more or less in UK venture capital funds, or do you think they'll spread their bets a bit more?
So I would think that LPs would see through kind of the noise and the news headlines, etc., and actually wait to make a proper informed decision when we have some concrete knowledge and information about how this is going to affect us. But anyone who's pulling out today because of Brexit, I mean, that's just an excuse.
Yeah. So any kind of bad news that happens, they're just using Brexit as an excuse.
I think so.
That's interesting as a journalist, that's for sure. Interesting. Yes. I think this is, you know, we've seen this in the past at big global events whenever there's bad news. What's the phrase? Good day to bury bad news, unfortunately. But yes, I think you're correct in the sense that it's pretty much everything is unchanged. Whatever happens, happens in the next couple of years, but certainly from my perspective as a journalist, speaking to companies, there's no sort of immediate pressure to do anything. I have unfortunately heard people sort of saying, right, I've got to make a decision. And I think this is much more, and I think you've probably got a few thoughts on this, is if you are continental European and you're in the UK, are you going to commit? Are you going to buy the house? Are you going to bring up the kids, etc.? What are you going to do? And that's the kind of questions that some people have to face.
And I think, you know, again, my concern would be if you're coming out of university and you're not a UK resident, are you suddenly going to think, well, am I going to stay here and start building a life here? Or am I going to go to Berlin where, you know, equally good startup scene, lots of interesting things going on? You just don't know, and I don't know how someone makes that decision right now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you decide whether to buy a house because of what might happen with Brexit? I mean, we're talking now, I think, realistically, a couple of years off.
Yeah.
So,
I think we have a 2-year window to make up our minds, don't we? Theresa May, wherever you are. Okay, now, let's get back to tech. So, in terms of, like, there's been a bit of a boom. There's been quite a lot of funds created over the last couple of years. Do you think there's kind of too many investors now floating around? There's you guys, there's Spring, there's a whole bunch of sort of the main ones that we know about. There's so many accelerators now. What do you think about the boom in accelerators in London, particularly in London?
Let's start with the boom in funds, which I think is only a positive thing. I mean, again, we're an ecosystem that's trying to grow up like the Valley. And look at how many funds the Valley has, and they're still saying that there isn't enough capital at certain stages. So I think it's welcome that there are more funds in Europe.
Something like close to 1,000 funds in the Valley.
Is that the total?
Something along the line, there's about minimum 750, 800, yeah.
So, you know, I'm all welcome for more capital in Europe, and I think more funds should be started by good investors. And I think that at the accelerators, you know, I think some remain to be seen, but some are doing such an impressive job. You know, Seed Camp continues to amaze me as entrepreneur first. What are they now in their 6th cohort? And the quality of the companies.
They're about 5 minutes old, those guys.
The quality of the companies coming out. Alice and Matt have done an absolutely tremendous job.
I would, frankly, I would concur. I agree. Do you think, you spoke about Berlin a second ago. Wasn't there fantastic, fantastic in a slightly ironic sense to see billboards for move to Berlin the day after Brexit? That was rather hilarious.
Were they sponsored by Airbnb?
No, it wasn't sponsored. It was sponsored by a German politician who decided to put these this big, you know, big banner on wheels going around Shoreditch. It was rather funny.
Are you tempted to move?
Darling, no. London's the best city in the world. Come on. Yes, you can clap. Yes. Rock and roll.
I think you just woke up.
Apart from the fact that I was born here, I might as well stay. What the hell? You mentioned Berlin. Now, in Europe, we've got an amazing scene in Stockholm now, amazing, you know, good scene in Berlin. It's probably, I'd say, number 2 after London. Still quite small, 3.5 million people versus London's, what, 8, 10 million? in terms of Paris is kind of interestingly motoring up now, BlaBlaCar coming out, Sigfox.
The family are doing
The family are an incredible accelerator, really cool guys. They've really kind of like got their act together over the last couple of years. Entrepreneurship is back in fashion in the home of the word. The Barcelona, interestingly going for Internet Things, a lot of gaming companies coming out of Barcelona.
Yeah. Typeform was the last investment that I helped lead it.
You were actually in Typeform, weren't you?
Yeah.
What was Typeform again? Can't remember.
They create beautiful online forms and surveys.
Oh, Typeform.
You've probably seen it a million times.
Yes, I have.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Why do people like that?
I think
it's forms.
But it's design.
How can you invest in forms?
The completion rate on Typeforms are over 55% compared to a standard
And that makes it
form.
an investable company?
Yeah. I mean, think
over a Google Doc?
Think how many... do you know how bad a Google form is?
I've filled out Google Forms. What
you
the hell?
can't do it on mobile. I mean, I was filling in a Google form for
Can't you just zoom in?
Business Insider. But it's such a painful process. What do you think the drop-off rate is for that? If you're a business where forms are integral to your product, something like Typeform...
Why doesn't Google just iterate and kill Typeform?
Why doesn't Google do a lot of things?
True.
I mean, there are a lot of areas
Don't you find it annoying? Or entrepreneurs must find this so annoying. VCs say this all the time.
Google could do that.
Google could do that. How would Google not do that? Oh my God, this is the lamest question from any investor. Do you ever have to ask?
I've never asked that.
I've never
asked that.
You deserve a round of applause
Thanks.
for never asking that question. For heaven's sake.
There's look at the amount that Google spends now on acquiring companies where there's clearly it's either a skills gap for them or it's a technology gap.
This is our disadvantage. We're not in the valley. Those guys all acquire each other because they all drink in the same bars.
Magic Pony was an EF company that was recently acquired. I think that what Europe really needs to see is founders going the full way. Like, don't sell out early. Don't sell for 150, 200, 250. Don't be scared that Google's going to build it themselves or Facebook's going to build it themselves. Actually believe in yourself that you can build it yourself.
Yeah, a round of applause for that, I think.
Motivational.
Inspiring words. Okay, right. What do you look for in a company? When does the hairs on the back of your neck go up when you see a company?
For me, it's a mixture of
that you like, I mean. Not the one that you don't like.
One screaming from the room.
Yeah.
I think it always starts with a mix of, the founder will impress you from the first minute in. If you're meeting with tens of founders a week, you do know when someone walks in and he's just or she's just got it. And the next thing is definitely the idea, because if they were pitching you something that wasn't interesting, I mean, great, you met a nice person, but that's not going to change your day. And when you talk about an idea, at seed stage, it's very much, are you solving a problem that goes after a very large market? That's my fundamental concern. I'm less worried about business model and users, etc., but I would like to see someone who I want to back as a founder who's going to go and build something revolutionary.
A lot of VCs in Europe like to see traction or growth rather than just somebody with an idea, though, right?
So I think traction and growth becomes very important for the Series A raise. I think for seed, you'll probably be in beta, or you probably would have given your product to your friends and family and called them users. I think that it's much more about the quality of the technology, the potential the idea has. I mean, obviously there's a product that you can see, but it's probably not ready to scale to hundreds of thousands of users at that stage. And it's very much the team who are going to execute on it. I have to say that the one change from leaving Index to being at LocalGlobe is that now if I see or I'm told about a company doing something that I find vaguely interesting, I always meet the entrepreneurs, because it's those people that are either going to make it or break it.
And it is about meeting the person and seeing, do you ever find that you meet an entrepreneur who's a little bit maybe slightly on the spectrum, but they've got a brilliant idea, but they can't really quite communicate it, and you go, well, they've got an incredible idea, incredible potential, but they're not really the front person or whatever.
Yeah, I think you have to expect that a lot of the time, founders who are coming to meet, especially seed investors, have not done a pitch before. They don't know the lingo, and they're probably the best ones will be all about the product. And they might get lost and get their excitement of telling you about what they're building is so, powerful, valuable, etc. And just bear with them. But I think the important thing is for the next stage of investment, it's almost at Series A, you're expected to know the world of VC. Like, you need to go in there and you do need to understand exactly what product market fit means. And you need to know, your CAC to your LTV. And if you don't have all of that stuff, then...
So the seed investors hopefully will be a little bit kinder.
But it's our role to help at that stage.
Exactly, that's right. Right, Chris, I wanted to ask you about some big trends going on. What's your view? I mean, I'm sure you read up about this sort of thing all the time. Chris Dixon, a great investor in New York, wrote a really great post literally a couple of days ago called 11 reasons to be optimistic or excited about the future. Was it the future or technology?
Future.
I think it was the future, wasn't it?
Possibly.
Yeah. And I've got the 11 reasons here, so we're going to do a quick fire round, right, with you. Right.
Okay.
That's right.
Am I yesing or knowing whether I'm excited?
You can do whatever you like, yes or no, or no,
so I'm going to...
What?
I have a view already before you even start.
About what?
About the 11 reasons to be excited.
Well, can I just not read them out?
No, we can get to the reasons.
That's my job here. Come on,
Okay. I'll withhold my views.
Driverless cars are going to replace taxi drivers, and I'm being replaced by the interviewee. Come on.
You're going to be replaced by a chatbot. By
a chatbot.
We don't even need you anymore.
Are these people being nasty to us on Twitter? I hate this shit. Okay, right. Okay, no, I haven't been replaced yet. I'm still a human being. Right, cars.
Yes.
Thoughts.
I think that self-driving cars are coming.
Or transport.
When is it? Pittsburgh next week.
Pittsburgh with Uber.
I mean, but they are going to have someone in it and a co-pilot. So we have.
They'll sit there, just with the hands off the wheel.
Exactly, never touching anything. No, it's coming. It's definitely coming. Although the one stat
Are there opportunities when you have such large companies like Uber and Google doing that kind of technology? Are there opportunities for entrepreneurs, at that level?
Yeah. Who's going to build the insurance for self-driving cars?
Good question.
That's what I want to know.
Who's going to build the insurance? Okay, right. Energy. Is there batteries?
Ooh, I think VCs have been badly burned on clean energy, so we'll see. I think it's the way we're going. We have to go, but I'm not sure that we're suddenly going to see billions of dollars of VC investment in the space.
Maybe companies that can monitor energy or save energy, or VR and AR. What's your view?
Very early stages, but like all of these reasons that Chris wrote on, I think that Chris is a visionary VC. But if you actually think about the dollar investment of VC money into each of these categories, it's still very low. And most of these are kind of at their infancy, I would say.
Who thinks VR and AR is going to be the next big thing? Put your hand up. God, almost nobody.
Wow.
Who thinks it's not the next big thing? VR and AR. Oh, you'd be undecided.
There's a lot of apathy in this audience.
Come on, guys, have an opinion. Come on.
You're asking questions to Brits.
Okay. Yes, we're asking questions to Brits, I know. Drones.
Yes. Again,
Like it?
it's like I'm an
Happy?
insurance broker today, but we have a company in our portfolio that's doing spot insurance for drones.
Blockchain, cryptocurrency.
Again, in its infancy. I mean, how many applied uses do we have of this technology yet? I think it's fascinating. It has the potential to revolutionize a multitude of industries, but if you go and pitch the CEO of Santander and tell them that you want to do invoice financing for them on the blockchain, what's the sales cycle on that?
The fintech theme is really coming through here.
We can get into something else. My mind's hooked.
Artificial intelligence.
Very positive. Very, very positive.
Do you think we have an edge here in Europe or the UK?
Totally. I think that the quality. This comes back to the quality of students coming out of universities that are starting companies today. I mean, you're learning from the best minds at Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, LSE, etc. And some of the best companies are being built here. I mean, look at the research that DeepMind is doing. And thank God that they're still open with their research and still publishing a lot of what they're discovering.
That's an extremely good point. Right, let's ditch the list. Lastly, I want to ask you something I think you're increasingly passionate about, which is getting more women in tech, getting women involved in entrepreneurship. But you've got some interesting views about this. You know, it's not just about getting women in tech. What is it in your view?
So I kind of shiver women in tech because I think it's a glib thing for saying we should be doing something about it. I'm far more interested in actually hearing and deciding together what should be done. So we know the age-old problem, there are not enough female students in STEM subjects, etc. We need to help get these people through studying more at university and at schools. But women in technology companies now, you know, once you're in there, once you're in startups, what are the challenges that you're facing? How can you be helped? I don't believe it's just about female, you know, backing female founders. I think it's actually understanding and talking about the issues more often and more in the public domain, because I think that, you know, you have these kind of women in tech events for 2 hours, but are we actually helping?
So what do you think the answer is? Do you, because a lot of those questions tend to go down a kind of cul-de-sac, don't they? What do you think the answer is?
I think the answer...
If it's talking about it, how?
I think the answer lies in some kind of broad mentor program, actually. I think that women helping other women, or even kind of having some men in the fray.
Really?
But, you know, one stat that shocked me is that actually, while, you know, in startups you might get, say, the best in class is like 50-50 women and men at the kind of junior level, that women aren't promoted up through the ranks. And so as we talk about those big exits coming from Europe and, you know, the VPs and the C-levels going on to start companies, if we can't get women to that stage, then how do we hope that they'll then go on to be angel investors or found companies, etc. So I think that mentorship is, you know, one possible solution, but I'm more here saying kind of, please, you know, talk about it. Let me know what the issues are.
And help people. Simple as that.
Hopefully
right?
so.
It's a good message to end on. Hey, Ophelia Brown, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to interview you. I hope you have a nice evening, everyone, and we'll be around to talk, I guess.
Yes, I think so.
Thank you.